we'll see how it goes. Switchcraft is brought to you live 3 times a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern and on Saturday at whatever time I can get to it. Tune in live at twitch.tv/runjumpstomp. This episode of Switchcraft was brought to you by Tonesburger. Support Switchcraft and my other content for as little as $1 at patreon.com/runjumpstomp. There we go. We'll name that patron. And we got to save the project as. Hit OK. We'll say SC1. I don't even know what episode this is. 178. 178, save. I butchered that person's name. Like, I wasn't sure how to say it. This is how you spell it. Where is it? Well, here, I can just show you. This is how you spell it. Right there. I don't know how to say that. I think I ruined it. TF Wagner says, caring about spoilers is a good reason to go on Friday of opening weekend. Well, usually... Usually we end up going to the movies on like Sunday mornings, but we weren't sure if we were going to have time. Yeah, Festo, that's correct. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but I think I did okay. All right, I'm back. There we go. Episode 178 of Switchcraft is brought to you by Audible. Get a free book and directly support this. That says stream, but I need to change that so that it says show. There seems to be a cat emergency. I will be right back. All right, I'm back. I guess that Marv had just his back legs sticking out of the garbage can, and my son couldn't get him out of the garbage can. So, those cats, what a pain. Episode 178 of Switchcraft is brought to you by Audible. Get a free book and directly support the show by checking out Audible. They have thousands of books from every genre. You're definitely going to find something you like. Just head over to runjumpstomp.com/audible. There we go. And save. Now we can start the real show. Flipping cats. I'll tell you what, man. Let's close that. And let me find the real thing. You know what? No. Here we go. All right, our first story for today is about Nintendo Switch Online. During the press briefing, it was revealed that we're going to be finding out more about Nintendo Switch Online in early March. Now, I am assuming that means in the first 2 weeks, and if you want to check out the full PDF, you can do so with a link in the show notes. We've got lots of information in this. I'm not going to talk about everything in here, but right here it says, oh, no, that's it. That's not the right thing. Let me scroll some more. So right here, it says Nintendo Switch Online, a paid subscription service that will expand the online functionality of Nintendo Switch, will begin in September of this year. So now it's definitely confirmed that that's coming in September. They go on to say the service will provide consumers with a richness of online features that allow them to continuously enjoy the Nintendo Switch. More information will be presented on our website in early May. Now, I don't think that that means that we're going to be getting a Nintendo Direct about it, because they said on their website. If they were going to do a Direct, I think that they would say a Nintendo Direct, or they wouldn't say, I just don't think that they would say on our website. So I think that we're going to be refreshing the Nintendo Switch Online page a lot in the next few weeks to try and find out what exactly they're going to be adding to the functionality in order to expand the online functionality of the Nintendo Switch. That's a pretty important term. It's not that what we're getting now is going to stay the same, because that's not expanding the online functionality. Whatever we're getting is going to be more than what we're already getting. And we have to also temper expectations, though, because remember that when this comes out in September, it's going to be $20 a year. And when you compare that to Xbox Live and PSN, those services are $60 a year. This is considerably cheaper, so I expect us to probably get a third of the value that we do from those other services. I would be very, very happy to be wrong, but I don't think that we should expect that Nintendo is going to shoot for the moon here. Link 31254 says early March. I meant to say early May is what I meant to say. I'm not sure if I said March, but I think I said May. Link 31254 says, I just keep waiting for it to update and it never does. Well, I mean, we're going to see it we're going to see something very soon. That doesn't mean that they're going to unveil everything. Fisto in chat says, I hope we can all delete our voice chat app. And, I don't think I've deleted it, but I certainly haven't opened it in ages. So I'm looking at my phone right now and I still have it. It's still right there, the Nintendo voice chat app. But I never ever use it. And it seems like Nintendo has forgotten about it, because right now it just shows an icon for Splatoon 2. And I guess if I want, I can go in there and do voice chat through that, but it's kind of a hassle, so I'd rather just use Discord myself. Or what would be the best is if Nintendo said, you know what, we've listened to you guys and we're going to bring that stuff all into the Switch itself. I don't see that happening. I don't see us getting rid of that app. I think that app is a pretty big portion of their business strategy, and like right now it's kind of floundering, but what I think will happen is we'll get more and more stuff on the Nintendo Switch online app, and once we have that more stuff there, there'll be people going to it more often. And this is something that people always have in their pocket, is their phones. And that means that Nintendo can then push notifications to, hey, everybody, there's a Splatfest going on today. Or, hey, everybody, Mario Tennis Aces is coming out next week. Or whatever it is that they want to do. They could easily push notifications to users through that phone app. So I don't think that that's something that we're going to be getting rid of at all. TF Wagner says, let's all test it right now. Does it work? Well, I will say this. The voice chat app definitely works. The biggest detractor was that when it first came out, you couldn't shut your screen off on your phone. You were always stuck having your screen on your phone, which is a huge battery drain. So people didn't even want to bother with it. They've patched it since then, and now you can shut your screen off when you're using it. I haven't used it since it first came out. Like, I used it just because I'm a Nintendo podcaster, and it was something that I needed to make sure that I tested so that I could talk about it on the show. But I haven't really messed around with it much since then. Big F4T Dad says friends online notification would be nice on the app. Also, it would be wonderful if we could communicate with each other through text, kind of like we do on Discord. Kind of like we do on PSN. Like I got somebody who listens to the show sent me a message yesterday on PSN. They said love the podcast, and then they added me to friends list, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. So that kind of stuff would be great if we could talk to each other through that. But right now, it seems like the de facto standard is for people to just continue to use Discord. And by the way, if you haven't already joined our community on Discord, you should. Just head over to runjumpstomp.com/Discord. Anyway, I'm really hoping that we hear a lot. I hope that Nintendo surprises us, but don't hold your breath. Keep your expectations in check. Remember, we're only going to be paying $20 a year for this, and you should not expect them to deliver the moon. That being said, what I've been using right now on my Switch, where if I play ARMS online, or if I play Splatoon 2, or if I play Mario Kart 8 online, for me, that all works really, really well. I just would like them to add voice chat in the Switch automatically, so I didn't have to cobble together Discord, which is much easier for me because as a podcaster, I have a mixer sitting on my desk, so that makes my life a lot easier. But most people don't have that, and so then they have a sea of wires that they have to deal with. Or some people bought that Splatoon 2 headset. I know Kodiak Moonwolf in chat bought one of those Splatoon 2 headsets, and he likes it. That's what he told me anyway. But I shouldn't have to buy a special headset in order to talk to my friends and hear the game at the same time. Anyway, let's move on. TF Wagner, can't turn off the Twitch app screen when using audio only, but there's another problem. Yeah, you can. I've done that before, TF Wagner. Oh, Kodiak Moonwolf says it gets uncomfortable. Yeah, whenever I am, well, here, let me test it right now. So I'll open up Twitch. And I'll open up my stream. Stop that. So if you look, here, let me test it right now. I tap that and I switch it to audio only, and now it should be on audio only. So it's going right there, and then I can shut off my screen. Oh, they must have changed it. You are absolutely right, TF Wagner. They changed it. I tap that and I switch it to audio only. Ah, there you go. Okay. So TF Wagner, if you are using, oh, look at that. I love that. Look at that. If you are using an iOS device, after you shut it off, just tap the screen and hit the play button, and now it should be on audio. And there you go. Now it's working, and then I can shut off my phone, and it works. So there you go. Now we've figured it out. We've solved the problem, and I think that's more of an Apple thing than a Twitch thing. So if the screen's about to go to, or if the screen goes to sleep, tap it, hit play, and then you can sleep the screen and it'll be fine. Look at me solving problems. No problem, man. Let me look through this real quick. What else was on here? I knew there was something else in this PDF. I'll bring up the PDF so you guys can see it. That I was looking for that I wanted to talk about real quick. I don't remember what it was now. I guess I should have added it. That's okay. That's all right. Everything's fine. We're all fine here. How are you? All right, next story. All right. Where's my record button? There we go. Well, if you ask Mr. Kimishima, which if you don't know who he is, Tatsumi Kimishima is the now retiring president of Nintendo. He is going to be out in June. I talked about this on the last episode. He's going to be replaced by Mr. Furukawa, who's been with Nintendo since 1995, I think. Maybe it was 94. I can't remember now. All I know, it was surprising how young he was, having been at Nintendo for that long. Like, this must be the only job he's ever had, you know? Anyway, if you ask Mr. Kimishima, how many Switches do you think that you're going to be selling this year? He says that Nintendo now has the ingredients to sell 20 million Nintendo Switch units this fiscal year. He said the ingredients to sell that many Switches are now ready, which is really, really good news. So that means that I doubt anything big that they had planned is going to be delayed, because he says they're ready. So my guess is we've got games, they're finished, they're in the can, they've moved on to something next, and they're going to start developing that stuff. He said this during a Q&A session. An investor asked, and he said, Nintendo is planning and developing video games targeted at people who have not been playing games recently and games that people would potentially be interested in. So that phrase makes me a little nervous. That makes it feel like Nintendo's going back to like the Wii era of stuff where yes, they were extremely profitable, but a lot of the games were not games that I was super interested in playing myself. That being said, just because Nintendo makes some casual stuff doesn't mean that they're not also going to be making games that I want too. And we already know that they are working on games that I want. Games like Mario Tennis, games like Pokemon for the Switch, games like Metroid for the Switch, which, by the way, I don't think that we will see this year. Pokemon, I think we'll see this year, but not Metroid. Then he went on to say that... where was it? Oh, I already said this. He said ingredients required to achieve the 20 million consoles goal have been put in place. And I assume that means the games that they're going to be talking about at E3 this year. And they even said on a story that you can find on runjumpstomp.com, there's a story there where it outlines their plans for E3. Nintendo at E3 this year is only going to be talking about stuff that's coming out in 2018, which I think is great. I've run into many times where developers get too excited about the game that they are working on, and they think that it's going to be done long before it actually is done, and then they start talking about it too soon. Square Enix, I'm looking at you. Square Enix is really bad about this. They will... I can give you an example. Final Fantasy VII Remake. They've been talking about that for like 3 years, and we still haven't seen it. Like, we haven't really seen a playable thing. We've only ever seen like footage. And when I say footage, when I see it, I don't believe for a second that that's what the game is going to be. Like, it looks like CG renders and that kind of thing. Fisto wants to know, I wonder if they will alter Switch hardware to combat the new hack on those 20 million units. I mean, maybe. As long as they're using the same chipset, then there's nothing that they can really do about it. So who knows? Mirage Leonardo says, as far as games go this year, Switch is getting a ton of indie game support, JRPGs, and also first-party titles. Since they ported Okami on the Switch, I wonder if they will port the DS sequel, Okamidon, to the Switch soon. That's a really good question. I have no idea. I haven't played Okami. I've heard it's very good, very Zelda-like, which, that's kind of in my wheelhouse. But I haven't played it. And you're right, Nintendo has been getting a lot of third-party stuff. But I will say that this year feels very different than last year, where last year it felt like every single month there was a huge, huge game from Nintendo, or almost every month. This year, it really doesn't feel like that to me, but that just might be because they're putting out games that I'm not super interested in. I know that the new Kirby game sold over 1 million units in like 2 weeks, which is really, really good. That's really fantastic for a Kirby game. I'm not super interested in Kirby. I wasn't really interested in Labo. I'm not sure if anything of note came out in January. I was too busy playing Xenoblade Chronicles from December at that point, or was that? Yeah, that was December. So at the beginning of 2018 has felt like not a lot of stuff, but I think that once E3 hits, we're going to just get hammered with game after game after game from Nintendo. I think that they, especially with Mr. Kimishima saying, we're going to be selling 20 million units this year. I think that they, I don't think that they would say that if they didn't have something pretty amazing in the works. And Super Smash Brothers, like their best selling franchise of all time, I think, Super Smash Brothers is going to do a lot to lead that charge. If you sprinkle in a little Pokemon with that, that's going to do it too. And maybe there's also some things that we just don't know about yet. All right. 20 mil. Octopath Traveler looks very good, and that is coming out in July. That is definitely something that I want. Isn't, now that I think about it, isn't Mario Tennis Aces also coming out in July? That's a little annoying. I have to get both of those games the same month. All right. Well, Nintendo's in a little bit of trouble. They're in trouble, and they're not the only ones. The Nintendo's in trouble. Valve is in trouble. Sony is in trouble. EA is in trouble, and they're in trouble with Norway for breaching some European consumer laws. One of the laws, well, the one that Nintendo is in trouble for, has to do with pre-orders and the fact that Nintendo has failed to offer consumers the option to cancel a software pre-ordered on the eShop. So European consumer law says that if you are selling something and you take a pre-order, you have to give the consumer the option to cancel their pre-order if they want to. And Nintendo basically is saying that they're not adhering to this thing. It's called the right of withdrawal. So they're not meeting that, and so they're in trouble for that. And my guess, it's good that they're in trouble for that. I think that that's a really good thing to have. Whereas if I make a pre-order, I can cancel it if I want. And, I think that Nintendo, I talk a lot about it, the things that I see Nintendo doing that I think that they do right. And I feel like I also will often talk about things that I think that they're doing wrong. And the way that they handle this is definitely bad. I also think that they should allow people to return games that they are not happy with, kind of like Steam does. Now, Steam has a and I've talked about this before, but Steam has a very good return policy where you can play the game, whatever game it is that you bought, for I think it's up to 4 hours. And I think you can own the game for up to 2 weeks. And as long as you have not played it for more than 4 hours and not played it up to 2 weeks or whatever, then you can just say, hey, I want my money back from Valve. And I've actually done that probably twice. I think I can't remember. I think it was Final Fantasy VII, the Steam version. Like, I bought that and I was really disappointed with how well the port was. Like, it was kind of a crappy port, or maybe it was something else. I can't remember now. But I was not happy with it. And I said, you know what? I want to return this. And Steam just gave me my money back. And whenever you are on the consumer side, you're going to earn a lot of loyalty from that consumer. And that's worth a lot more than forcing them to keep something that they're not happy with. Same thing with Amazon. Like, whenever I buy something on Amazon, if there's something that I want to buy and I'm not so sure about it. And like I look at the reviews and I'm like, all right, I think this is probably good. I'll go ahead and buy it from Amazon over just about anybody else, and that's because their return policy is so fantastic. I can just say, I didn't like it, it didn't work for me, send it back. They give me my money back, and they almost never ask any questions about that, and I like it. So here in my podcast studio, I have some studio lights, and I bought these umbrellas. And they're like these white transparent umbrellas, and I bought them to hook up to my studio lights to kind of diffuse the light to make it look a lot to try and make things look better for the podcast. And when they arrived, I couldn't, like, they would not clamp onto my light poles, and I was disappointed with that, and I returned them. Amazon said no problem. They gave me the money back. Now, Steam doing that same thing with digital games. It says right here on GameIndustry.biz, it says digital games do not exist in a lawless vacuum, says Norwegian Consumer Council. Council Director of Digital Services. So it's important to understand that if I go back to like the history of returning video games, it's crazy. Like if you ever read Console Wars by, I can't remember the guy's name, but it's a fantastic book. It's about Nintendo and Sega. And there's this whole thing in there about how, I believe it was Target, or maybe it was Kmart. I can't remember who. Like they're there to meet with Mr. Yamauchi, who was president of Nintendo at the time. And it was because when the Super Nintendo came out, a lot of consumers who had the NES, they started returning their perfectly working machines to get their money back, and then they would turn around and buy the Super Nintendo. And Nintendo told all the retailers, they said, no, you guys can take those back if you want, but we're not giving you the money back for these systems because there's nothing wrong with them. And, as far as Nintendo goes, I'm kind of on their side with that. And back in the 80s, it was like this lawless vacuum when it came to video games. You could buy a game, take it home, play it as much as you wanted, put it back in the package, go back to the store, return it, and they'd be like, oh, sure, customer's always right, we'll take it. And because people abused that, they then said, you know what, we're no longer going to be accepting returns on video games. And now if you buy a game, you're pretty much stuck with it if you've broken the shrink wrap. Which kind of sucks, because sometimes you buy a game, you take it home, and you're like, man, this thing's a pile of garbage. I don't want this. I'm going to return it. So that's why you got to be so careful these days. Then digital games started. And because there was never, like, when digital games came out, games were not something that you could just return anymore. The digital marketplace did exactly the same thing. They said, no, we're not going to take any returns. And consumers fought back a little bit about that. And I think Sony started allowing returns, and then Microsoft, and then finally Steam. I could be wrong about the order of that. So Steam allows you to return games, but Nintendo still doesn't. And I know I'm kind of taking a meandering path here and talking about this, but, I like that Norwegian Consumer Council is calling Nintendo on not allowing people to cancel their pre-orders, and I hope that they also call them on not allowing people to return games. I think that it makes sense for people to be able to try out something and decide, you know what, this is kind of garbage, because there's not a lot that you can find out just by watching a video on YouTube. Like, you could watch it and be like, wow, that looks great. And then when you try it, you're like, oh, these controls are terrible, or this game is not for me. Snow Goes Ham in chat says Blake J. Harris. I think it was Blake J. Harris, but I'm not sure off the top of my head. He also says Steam didn't have a refund policy before, but European law forced them to comply. Yes, that is correct. And then finally, Snow also says, I think renting video games back when it was the way you could try before you buy, but now you can't really unless there's a rare free trial. And I do agree with that, except, there's services like GameFly where you can rent games. I think that the Redbox things, I don't know if they're outside of the US at all, but like in most grocery stores, especially like where I live out in the middle of nowhere, because a lot of people who live near me have crappy internet, so they can't just stream stuff. So a lot of people will go to the grocery store and they have like these big red boxes filled with DVD videos. You pick your DVD and it spits it out. You take it home, you watch it, or probably Blu-ray these days. Who uses DVD? And then you bring it back and put it back in. And then, you can get your next movie. So there are ways that you can try before you buy, but most of those are pretty limited. And a lot of game companies don't do demos because I think that, they don't believe that their game will. God, how do I want to say this? I don't think that the game companies are like, well, we're putting out crap. If we put a demo out, they're not gonna buy our game. We'll just have to trick them into buying it. I don't think that that's the way that they're acting, but I definitely feel like the only time that you ever see a demo is when the game is absolutely stellar. There you go. Anyway, I'm glad that the Norwegian Consumer Council is calling Nintendo to the carpet about this, and I hope they continue to do so. All right, GameFly is limited. I've never tried GameFly. There was a research conducted where demos were proven to reduce sales. Yeah, you can't prove something. You can't prove that this thing caused somebody not to do that thing. Correlation does not equal causation, is what I would say to that, Snow. I've never tried GameFly though. Name. We'll say this Trouble, I guess. Yeah, Sonic Forces demo was so bad. It was incredibly bad. I don't know. Honestly, if I were in charge of Sonic Forces, I would not have put out that demo. That's for sure. Because that game was garbage. That was hot garbage on a stick. All right. All right, I'm going to start speeding things along a little bit. All right, here we go. Well, it looks like we're going to be getting another mobile game from Nintendo. Now, we're already kind of waiting on, oh gosh, what is it? Mario Kart Tour, which has been confirmed to be coming out in fiscal year 2018. So that's anytime between April 1st of this year and March 31st of 2019. So we don't really know when that's coming. Just we know it's going to be in fiscal year 2018. But Nintendo has announced that they're partnering with a company named Cygames or CY Games, and they're bringing us an original RPG. This comes from Pocket Gamer, and that game is called Dragalia Lost, which is a really let me skip ahead in the video. So if you're watching the YouTube video, you can see this right there. They kind of have like a chibi kind of art style, and it looks like it's got like a bunch of attacks. It really reminds me of these, I can't remember the name of it, but it was almost like a Zelda ripoff back in the early days of the iPhone. I think it was called Xenonia or something like that. And I don't know much about that game except that it was supposed to be like comparative to a Zelda style game. And this kind of reminded me of that with the way that it plays. Now, am I going to check this game out? I mean, I might download it if it's free to try it because I have a Nintendo podcast, but I don't like playing games on my phone. So I'm not interested in it at all. So that's just for me. But I know that there's a lot of people out there that like playing games on their phone. Now, we don't know when Dragalia Lost is coming out, but if you want more information, check out the link in the show notes. You would grab Sonic Forces for $20? I don't know. I just didn't like it. But I'm also I don't like 3D Sonic games. I think 3D Sonic games are mostly garbage. That's just my opinion though. I'm not a big fan of those. I feel like you spend too much time looking at the ooh, look how fast Sonic is going and not enough time actually playing the game. If that makes any sense. All right, here we go. Well, it looks like Nintendo is finally going to have a football game on the Nintendo Switch, and it's not Madden. Although maybe Madden will come out next year, who knows? But it's one that you'd not expect, and that is 10-Yard Fight. This comes via Polygon. 10-Yard Fight is this old school arcade game. It was actually the first video that I made for the NES archive. Which is I'm going through all of the old Nintendo games on the NES and trying them out and talking about them on a video. And you can find that on my YouTube channel. But 10-Yard Fight was an arcade game that was ported to the NES. It's not a great game, but it's a fun little distraction. But that game is coming to the Nintendo Switch, which is pretty surprising, I guess. I didn't expect them to be bringing this game to the Nintendo Switch. Now, first off, just so you know, it is the version that is on the arcade, not the version that was on the NES. So that's good because the arcade version obviously looked much better. The game is coming out on May 2nd, and it will cost $8. So there you go. If you are hardcore into football, now you're going to have a football game that you can take with you, and you can pull off the Joy-Cons and share them with somebody. And Link31254 says, I would love an NFL Blitz remake. For me, I want a Mario football game. I want Mario to have a football game. I think that would be awesome. And I don't think that they've ever done that. Football. Save. You prefer Tecmo Bowl. Mario Football would be cool. All right. Okay. All right, we still got a bunch of stories, so I'm going to lightning round the rest of this so we can go real fast. First off, I have a brand new video on YouTube. I put it out probably an hour before this the podcast was started recording. That is the first look at a Metroidvania roguelike game called A Robot Named Fight. Very, very reminiscent of Super Metroid as far as the graphics style and audio style go, but it's also a roguelike, so that's actually really interesting to me. So check out, there's about 10 minutes of gameplay over on my YouTube channel. Secondly, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 patch 1.4.0 is adding the first brand new blade, which is the Poppy Buster. This comes with, you have the expansion pass to the game. You have to do some rare blade quest called Shiny New Power before you can unlock Poppy Buster, but now you guys know how you can get a hold of that part. Next up, that's the same story twice. Dragon Quest X is coming to the Switch. Square Enix has announced a new retail version, so that means it's a physical copy version of Dragon Quest X, which is an MMO. This is the third MMO that is limited to Japan because it's not translated into English for us. Although, yes, the Switch is region free, but if you don't read Japanese, it's going to be a big pain to try and play. But it's weird. It's coming to the Switch and the Wii U. That's really interesting. And if you're looking for more information on that information will be revealed on May 16th. This was in the show notes last week, but I just forgot it. And that is, there's new outfit in Super Mario Odyssey. My son has already played enough Luigi's balloon thing so that he can earn the coins, and he already bought the brand new topper suit, which is basically this green suit that looks like the one of the Rabbids, not Rabbids. What the hell are the Brutals? Looks like one of the brutal rabbit guys in Super Mario Odyssey. There we go. Lightning round done. I'm losing my voice. We're talking about arcade archives from the 80s, but I'd like NFL Blitz too. I never played NFL Blitz, so I don't know that one. Oh, NBA Jam, yes. NBA Jam was a great game. He's on fire. All right. All right, two things before I wrap up the show. First off, I get a review on iTunes from FPS Machine. They gave the show 5 stars. Big thank you for that. They said a one-stop shop for Switch news, the best place for up-to-date, concise Switch news coverage. Yours is one of the 3 game podcasts I look forward to and listen to immediately after it's posted. Thanks, and keep up the great work. Well, thank you very much, FPS Machine, for the review. If you guys want to review the show, it's really, really easy. Just open up iTunes or wherever it is that you guys can review podcasts. It's just very, very helpful. Gets us a little more visibility. Secondly, I've talked about it over the past couple episodes. We've got a survey. Please help support the show just by filling out a quick 5-minute survey that I can use to try and entice advertisers to come on the show. And keep in mind the advertisements will always be short and something that I think that you guys would be interested in. So finally, if you are looking for ways to support the show, thank you guys all for being here while I record the show. If you didn't know, the live streams are usually a good bit longer than the actual audio show. So if it's we get distracted and talk about other stuff. But if you are interested in watching those, then tune in live at twitch.tv/runjumpstomp. Or I always take the video, I cut off the beginning and the end, and I post it to YouTube so you can see all the twists and turns that happen between the stories along the way. However, and you can find that at youtube.com/runjumpstomp. Finally, if you're looking to support my content, head over to runjumpstomp.com/thank-you. All of the links there will help me create more content. Thank you, everybody who's already supported before. And now the show would not be the same without the live chatters. So thank you guys for hanging out with me. Kodiak Moonwolf, Snow Goes Ham, Beats Alive, Bender Ailcelia, I don't know how to say that, Aerslia, Hopple, Link 31254, Luke, Mirage, Fisto, TF Wagner, and the Lurkers. You guys are awesome. I will see you guys next time. Don't forget to check out Tom Winter and Noteblock, because that's the music that you're hearing behind my voice right now. I'm out of here. Bye-bye.